When you spend a weekend hunting for a new AV receiver, it's easy to get lured by the ultra-low-price options that promise everything you need. The disappointment is almost inevitable. Those cheap units usually lack the headroom to drive a true-to-life surround mix, and they start cutting out the bass just when the movie gets intense. That's why I'm sitting here a little hesitant, because I've seen way too many buyers regret splurging on a flashy model that sounded amazing in the spec sheet but fell apart the moment they tried to stream a 4K game or fire up a Dolby Atmos soundtrack. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So, does the Onkyo THX RZ50 feel like a smarter purchase, or is it another glossy front panel with a hidden downside? First, let's get into what the receiver actually does for you in a typical living room setup. The THX RZ50 is a 9-channel amp that can process up to 11.2 channels, meaning you're able to run a full 9.15 Atmos configuration and still have the extra processing power for future expansion or for using Onkyo's Klipsch Optimize mode. In real life, that translates to a smoother dialogue track when you're watching a dialogue-heavy drama, and more precise object placement for an action movie where a helicopter might fly directly over your left side speaker. If you own a Klipsch home theater series, the Optimize mode actually reads your speaker's impedance and adjusts the output to match the brand's recommended voltage curves, giving a noticeable lift in clarity without you having to manually tweak gain settings. One of the biggest worries when you buy a receiver is the day-to-day workflow. Will you spend 10 minutes hunting through menus every time you switch from a Netflix binge to a PlayStation 5 session? The RZ50's front panel touchscreen is designed to be more of a guide than a maze. The home screen shows the source you're on, the active preset, and a quick access button for the most commonly used functions like toggling the ultimate 4K gaming mode, which automatically sets low latency, sharp contrast, and the appropriate HDR profile for most consoles. I tested this by connecting the console, a 4K Blu-ray player, and a streaming stick. Switching between them was as simple as tapping a large icon, and the receiver remembered your last Atmos height channel settings, so I never had to recalibrate when moving from a movie night to a gaming marathon. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs that usually don't appear on the product's feature list. Because the RZ50 is THX certified, it meets a strict set of performance thresholds, particularly in terms of low-frequency response and total harmonic distortion. In practice, this means you'll hear the rumble of a low-frequency explosion without the system sounding boomy or muddied. The catch? THX certification also mandates that the receiver stay within a certain power envelope, and Onkyo has chosen to deliver 110W per channel into 8. For most home theater setups, that's more than enough. But if you have a massive room or extremely low sensitivity speakers, you might find you need a supplemental external subwoofer to keep the impact consistent. I found this to be the case in a 20 square meter theater where the bass was solid but not room filling. Adding a dedicated sub with a line level input solved it, but it's something you need to anticipate. Another nuance, the Works with Sonos certified branding sounds convenient, but it's really a limited integration. The receiver can be controlled via the Sonos app for basic functions like power on, off, and volume, but you'll lose access to the granular Atmos setup, the Klipsch Optimize profile, and the advanced gaming presets. If you already run a Sonos ecosystem and expect seamless, full-feature integration, you'll need to decide whether you're okay with sacrificing those fine-tuning options. For most users who just want a reliable way to mute the receiver from their phone, it's a nice fallback. For power users who love to tweak every parameter, the limited control could feel like a step backward. Who should buy this thing? If you already own a 9-channel speaker arrangement, especially a set that includes height speakers for Dolby Atmos, the RZ50 will give you the processing muscle you need without forcing you to jump to a higher-priced flagship model. It's also a good fit for gamers who demand low latency and HDR accuracy. The ultimate 4K gaming mode isn't just a marketing line, it actually reduces the audio processing delay by a noticeable fraction, which matters in fast-paced shooters. Couples who enjoy movie nights with occasional gaming sessions will enjoy the flexibility. On the flip side, if you're a minimalist who only has a 5.1 setup and never plan to add height speakers, the extra channels and Atmos processing are essentially dead weight. You'll still get great sound, but you'll be paying for capabilities you'll never use. Likewise, if you're looking for a receiver that can replace a separate preamp/processor for a high-end audiophile listening room, the RZ50 leans more toward home theater performance than pure music fidelity. The built-in DAC is competent, but audiophiles often prefer a dedicated component with